Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into the latest twists in U.S. politics and international tensions. President Donald Trump is keeping everyone guessing about whether he'll authorize a strike on Iran. With tensions escalating and a decision potentially looming next week, Trump's undecided stance is stirring up quite a buzz. He's criticizing Iran's leadership and dismissing their calls for negotiations, all while the world watches nervously. Next up, experts warn that a U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear sites could open a real Pandora's box in the Middle East. While the idea of striking Iran's Fordow plant is on the table, many say it could lead to a prolonged and costly conflict, with Iran ready to retaliate and regional allies ready to jump in. The risks are high, and many believe such action might do more harm than good, possibly igniting a wider war. And in a big legal development, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for transgender minors. This decision is a significant setback for LGBTQ rights, affecting laws in 26 states and leaving many trans youth without access to essential medical treatments. Critics say this ruling perpetuates discrimination, while supporters argue it's about policy and science. Stay tuned as the fight for trans rights continues to unfold across the nation. Please continue to watch for more details. The Toronto Star reports on President Donald Trump's ambiguous stance regarding a potential U.S. military strike on Iran, emphasizing his unpredictable nature and the high stakes involved. Trump's comments, such as, "Nobody knows what I'm going to do," reflect his strategic ambiguity amid escalating tensions. Despite Iran's warnings of severe retaliation and Khamenei's firm refusal to surrender, Trump hints at the possibility of action, suggesting that the next week could be decisive. His remarks about Iran's leadership, including the assertion that the U.S. knows Khamenei's whereabouts but prefers not to kill him for now, underscore the delicate balance of power and the unpredictable nature of U.S. foreign policy. Meanwhile, Iran dismisses U.S. claims of negotiations, condemning Trump's threats and highlighting the deepening mistrust, especially as Tehran accuses Washington of complicity in Israeli attacks. Trump's interactions with Putin, urging him to mediate his own conflicts instead of involving the U.S., further illustrate the complex diplomatic dance amid a backdrop of regional instability fueled by Iran's support for proxies and its nuclear ambitions. CNN details the mounting concerns over a potential U.S. military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, especially as Israel intensifies its attacks. U.S. officials reveal Trump's growing inclination toward military action, targeting sites like the deeply fortified Fordow fuel enrichment plant, which is nestled within a mountain, making it a formidable target. Experts warn that such an attack could unleash a Pandora's box, igniting full-scale conflict with Iran that might last for years and involve Iran's proxies across the Middle East, including Iraq, Yemen, and Syria. The risks extend beyond military confrontation, with analysts emphasizing the possibility of regional escalation and heavy casualties on both sides. Despite Israel's confidence in the U.S. military's capability to destroy Fordow, concerns about radioactive fallout and the effectiveness of bunker-buster bombs remain. The potential for a prolonged, destructive war underscores the grave consequences of U.S. intervention, with experts cautioning that once opened, this Pandora's box could reshape the geopolitical landscape and extend Trump's presidency into a costly and uncertain conflict. The Independent reports on the Supreme Court's decision to uphold Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming healthcare for transgender minors, marking a significant setback for LGBTQ+ rights nationwide. The 6-3 ruling, authored by Chief Justice Roberts, dismisses claims that such bans violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, effectively permitting more states to restrict or eliminate access to hormone therapy and surgeries for trans youth. Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissent condemns the decision as a moral failure and warns of the irreversible harm inflicted on vulnerable children and their families. The ruling reflects a broader political and cultural battle over transgender rights, with over 24 states enacting similar bans amid a wave of anti-trans rhetoric and legislative hostility. Meanwhile, President Trump's executive orders, signed shortly after his inauguration, targeted gender-affirming care, emphasizing his administration's stance against recognizing transgender identities in federal policies. Medical organizations, including the American Medical Association, oppose these bans, affirming that such care is essential and evidence-based. Critics argue that the court's decision abdicates its responsibility to protect vulnerable populations, leaving transgender youth and their families to face discrimination and diminished access to necessary healthcare in a politically charged environment. The South China Morning Post delves into the mystery surrounding Donald Trump's all-American smartphone, the Trump Mobile T1, revealing the improbability of its claimed domestic manufacturing. Despite the president's family asserting that the device is proudly designed and built in the United States, industry experts highlight the extensive global supply chain that contradicts this claim. The phone's components, including its AMOLED screen, camera, and other vital parts, are predominantly sourced from China and South Korea, with local production in China and Vietnam. Analysts point out the high costs and logistical challenges of assembling such sophisticated technology entirely within the U.S., with only a few US-based companies like Purism making smartphones domestically at significantly higher prices. Resembling Chinese models like the Umidigi A15 and the Wingtech-made REVVL7 Pro 5G, the Trump T1 appears to be an original design manufactured by Chinese ODMs, casting doubt on the president's "Made in America" narrative and highlighting the complex, interconnected nature of global tech manufacturing. The Independent reports on Donald Trump's vocal criticism of Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, illustrating the tense intersection of politics and economic policy. Trump, during a White House event, launched a personal attack on Powell, calling him not a smart person and accusing him of delaying interest rate cuts that could benefit the economy. The president's frustration stems from Powell's cautious approach amid inflation concerns, despite Trump's own tariffs and economic policies that have contributed to inflationary pressures. Trump's dismissive remarks, including joking about appointing himself as Fed chairman, underscore his belief that the central bank's decisions are politically motivated and detrimental to economic success. His ongoing feud with Powell reflects broader tensions over monetary policy, with Trump asserting that the Fed's actions are costing the country a fortune, even as economic indicators show modest inflation and low unemployment. This personal and political clash underscores the ongoing debate over the independence of the Federal Reserve and the influence of presidential politics on monetary policy. The Globe and Mail covers a significant setback for transgender rights in the United States, as the Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. The 6-3 decision effectively blocks many federal protections for transgender youth and aligns with a broader wave of state-level restrictions. This ruling comes amid a climate of increasing legislative and executive actions aimed at limiting transgender rights, including bans on transgender athletes, restrictions on bathroom usage, and efforts to exclude trans individuals from military service. The decision echoes similar restrictions enacted in other countries, like the UK's recent ruling on single-sex spaces, and marks a regression from previous landmark decisions that recognized transgender protections under federal civil rights laws. Advocates argue that such laws violate constitutional principles of equal protection, citing the large number of transgender individuals affected and the importance of safeguarding their rights. The ruling signifies a challenging chapter for transgender Americans, with ongoing legal battles and political debates shaping the future of gender rights in the country. Nikkei Asia vividly reports the economic turbulence faced by Japan's automobile industry as U.S. tariffs take a toll. The article describes how, in May, the export prices of Japanese vehicles to the U.S. plummeted by 20%, with the unit price dropping from about 4.53 million yen to roughly 3.54 million yen, a decline of nearly 22%. Despite a strengthened yen, automakers are absorbing much of the tariff impact, maintaining prices to stay competitive in the lucrative U.S. market. Toyota, a major player, chooses to hold prices steady, while Subaru, less cautious, has increased theirs, highlighting a strategic split amid ongoing trade tensions. The article paints a picture of a battered industry navigating unpredictable tariff negotiations, with the broader economic outlook dimming as the Business Sentiment Index turns negative, especially for auto manufacturers heavily reliant on the U.S. market. Yahoo US offers an intimate glimpse into Tiffany Trump's life as a new mother and public figure. Just weeks after welcoming her son, Alexander Trump Bullis, Tiffany made her first appearance since the birth, attending a grand military parade in Washington, D.C., on June 14, 2025. Sitting in the VIP box alongside her family, she celebrated her father Donald Trump's 79th birthday and the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary. Her wedding to Michael Bullis, a Lebanese-American billionaire, was a star-studded event at Mar-a-Lago, with over 500 guests, including her father and stepmother Melania. Tiffany's story is marked by her elegant, understated presence in the political spotlight, contrasting her siblings' more active political roles, and her personal journey from a law student to a proud mother, sharing moments of her pregnancy and family life on social media, living in Miami and embracing her role as a first daughter with grace. The Toronto Star starkly details the U.S. Supreme Court's controversial decision to uphold Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for transgender minors. The 6-3 ruling effectively endorses laws that restrict access to puberty blockers and hormone treatments, citing the law's compliance with the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. Chief Justice Roberts emphasized the ongoing scientific and policy debates surrounding transgender healthcare, refusing to resolve these contentious issues through judicial intervention. Justice Sotomayor's dissent fiercely condemned the majority for abandoning vulnerable transgender children, warning of the profound implications for their rights. This decision underscores a broader political and legal trend of restricting transgender rights across the United States, with nearly 27 states enacting similar laws, and signals a challenging era for transgender youth seeking medical care amid ongoing battles over their civil liberties and societal acceptance. The Yahoo article vividly depicts Israel's strategic gamble, suggesting that their recent attack on Iran was executed with Donald Trump's tacit approval, based on the hope that the U.S. would eventually become entangled in the conflict. Israeli officials emphasize that Netanyahu's decision was heavily influenced by the assumption that the U.S., under Trump's leadership, would support or join their military efforts, especially given the timing of the operation around a 60-day diplomatic window initiated by Trump's ultimatum to Iran. As the operation unfolded, Trump initially appeared to discourage immediate military action, hinting that diplomacy might still be possible, but as Israeli success on the battlefield grew, his tone shifted, with him asserting increased control over the situation and expressing reluctance to negotiate further. Meanwhile, Israel is anxiously awaiting a decisive U.S. commitment, especially to attack Iran's fortified nuclear sites like Fordow, with many in Israel urging Trump to take direct action, fearing that without U.S. involvement, their military campaign may not achieve its objectives. The narrative underscores a complex interplay of diplomacy, military strategy, and political pressure, with Israel counting on the U.S. to step into the breach and validate their actions, while the U.S.'s decision remains uncertain, testing the very assumptions that led to the initial attack. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.